Welcome. It is Black Writer Wednesday, and today we are talking about finding the right time to write. Like, when is the right time to write? When is the best time to write? And learning how to figure that out for yourself so that you can really maximize on your time. Now, before we dive in, let me introduce myself. My name is Kristen Ayers Johnson. I am a film producer, writer, consultant, and pleasure activist, and I help Black writers, filmmakers, and creatives really to amplify their voices, boost their creativity, and make a bigger impact. So what are the ways to do that when it comes to figuring out the best time to write? Because really, if you're thinking about boosting your creativity or making a bigger impact, you really want to maximize on when your creativity and when your writing flows best, right? So there are two things for me that I have noticed, and that is time of day and also time of year. So right now it's autumn. This is like a really creative time for me. This is like when my writer self really like flourishes and wants to get words on the page. And whether I'm able to do that or not is totally different. That has to do with like life and also like managing my writing practice and my writing time. But this season, for whatever reason, for me is like a really creative season. And this is when I want to write stories. This is when old stories that I haven't finished start calling to me and saying like, put me down on the page, right? So like all these ideas start flourishing. I mean, even just last week, I got an idea for a thriller that I'm now developing. So, like I like to go with that flow as much as I can and maximize on that. Now, aside from season, like you may find for you, different times of year are when you're feeling more creative. Now, feeling more creative and having the logistical ability to be more creative and to be in your work are two different things, right? So like autumn is a really creative time for me, but it's also classically, I don't know why, it's a really, really busy time. So it doesn't even matter like what job I have or just like any time. Like when I was young, it was school. School starts in September, you know? So it's like at fall, I'm back in school. I'm not necessarily writing. When I was teaching yoga and doing body work, like autumn, September, because kids are going back to school, it's like when everybody's coming back into the studio, you know, like summertime is kind of slow, and then autumn, everything picks up. So I might be busy in life, and it may make it harder for me to write, but that might still be a good time for me creatively speaking. So those are two different things that you kind of have to think about. So again, the time that you're more available to write and the time that your creativity and your writing actually flows better are different things. What we want to figure out right now is when does your writing flow better? Because then, even if that's not the ideal time to write, you can start working towards making that more accessible. So we've got season. That's one of the things for me is this season. The other thing is time of day. Now, your brain, the way your brain works, it functions different in different ways at different times of day. So there's two kind of particular states, I guess, that I want to talk about. And this is not in like I don't have the scientific language around this. This is something that I learned that I was like, oh, this actually really applies to me. So I don't even remember the language from when I learned it. But there's like your, I think what they had called it was like, there's your worker bee. So there's like your worker bee function, which is like get tasks done. Like you have a list of tasks, you can get tasks done, you can do them. That's like your worker bee time of day, is like you're doing. And then there's like your, I can't remember the term that they use, but there's basically your creative time of day, your idea time of day, right? It's like when creativity is flowing, when you're getting your big ideas, and that's when like you're getting more of like the bigger picture and stuff, versus your worker bee time, which is your, I'm getting this done, I'm doing this errand, I'm doing this task, I'm knocking this off my list. Your idea time of day is like when your creativity is flowing more. So for me, when I think about it, like what times of day am I more creative? Am I getting more ideas? Is like our ideas flowing? For me, that's in the evening. Like afternoon, evening, nighttime is like, that used to be like my primo writing time, okay? It was like, let me stay up at 11, 12, 1, 2 a.m. and like get this writing done. Totally not feasible for me to do right now. But that is when I am most creative. So as a writer, there are two things that you have to think about when you're trying to get your writing done. There is the when am I most creative, for me, autumn and afternoon, evening, night. And then there's when is it actually most practical for me to write. So figure out when you are most creative and see if it is feasible for you to write during those times, because then you get to really like ride that flow, ride that creative flow and get your writing done. The ideas are flowing, the words are flowing, you're just knocking it out, right? And that's a really productive and it's efficient and you get more done and it's easier, but that's if those two times can come together. The when I'm most creative and when I can actually, realistically in life terms be creative. If those two things don't match, that's okay. For me, afternoon evenings is not a good time for me to write. That is usually times when I am doing production work, when I'm knocking off different tasks, when I've got like a meeting or a call or something out of the blue comes up. That happens all the time. So I know already that afternoons are not a great time for me to write. Morning is when I'm less creative, but if I can actually get some writing done in the morning, even though that's a time that I'm less creative, that's better than getting no writing done in the afternoon when I'm most creative, but I'm not actually able to sit down and write. So figuring out when you are most creative and then if you can write during that time is great. That gets your flow going. And you get to capitalize on it. Same thing with the season. If you're like, oh, I write really, really well in winter. Like maybe it's because you're hunkered down, you're just like in your place, you're like cozied up with your hot cocoa or wine or whatever, and you can like knock out your writing. Maybe that's your season. And then find ways of building your writing into that season. But same thing with the time of day. If it's like, oh, I know that I write really well in the afternoon, then maybe I'm getting up early and trying to get everything done so that I can take an hour or two in the afternoon. And for me, I already know that's not feasible because I've tried it. I've experimented. And that might be something you have to do is experiment. Like, okay, let me try to make this work. I experimented. It didn't work. So I was like, cool. I know that this isn't practical for me on a regular everyday basis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write at this time instead. My writing is not going to flow as well, but I'm going to get some writing done. And that's better than getting no writing done during my creative time, right? So this is all part of like trying to catch that flow, trying to find like what is the best time for me to write creatively and then also practically. Hopefully they come together, but if they don't, that's okay. Now, creatively, like when that flow is going, like, oh man, like it feels really good, right? When you're writing during a time when like it's not necessarily your creative time, it's not your idea time, it's not when it's flowing, it's still okay. Like it doesn't feel as good, it doesn't flow as well. But one thing that will get you through that is discipline, right? You may not even be motivated, but when you start building a habit, when you build a practice, a writing practice, even if it's not at your ideal creative time, you have a habit. And you can come back to that habit, you come back to that discipline, and that is what helps you make progress on your writing. Discipline, when you're not motivated, when you're not feeling it, discipline is what's going to get you through, right? When you're not feeling like super creative flow, having that practice of, but this is my writing time and I'm going to sit down and I don't care if I only write one sentence, that is what's going to help you make progress. That's still one more sentence of progress. So all of this is about building a practice, a writing practice that works for you and understanding when you write best and when you can practically write and finding the best, the best meeting of those worlds as possible so that you can keep progressing. Because there are so many people, and you might have found yourself saying this, I don't have time to write, I don't have time to write. And then like years go by and you still have this story in your head that you never wrote. But you can still get something done. Even if it's a little bit, even if it's 20 minutes a day, even if it's just a little bit at a time, even if it's a paragraph at a time or a couple sentences, you can still make progress. You just have to learn how to build a practice and weave that into your life. Like if this is important to you, if this is what matters to you, you need to build it into your life, into your, maybe not your everyday, but maybe your every week. Maybe you're not writing every day. Maybe you're like, hey, the weekdays don't work for me. I write on the weekend. That's me right now. Weekdays don't work well for me. I write on the weekends. Sometimes I write at night, but like I write on the weekends. So finding what works for you right now and your lifestyle, building a practice into that, and then being able to adjust that as you go. So You know, maybe you're starting off with like, okay, I don't write well in the morning, that's me, but that's when I can actually practically get it done. You do that, and then after like a month or 2 or 3 months, you might be like, all right, let me try and change it up and do it in the afternoon. Now that you've built a habit of writing regularly, you might be able to make that shift to a different time of day a little bit easier. So you have to be willing to adjust to your life, to your lifestyle, to as things change, to as even you as a writer change, to finding the times that work best for you. But you have to start with building that practice. And building that practice comes from understanding when creatively you write best and when practically you actually have the time, and then trying to bring those two together if possible. And if not, you're working on discipline and building a habit, right? So if you can't write when you're most creative, you build the discipline and a habit of writing when you can actually practically get it done. So I see some of you guys are jumping on, but now we're like at the end of the live. Don't worry though, I'm gonna post the replay. So if you missed the beginning, you can definitely go back and watch it. And while I am here, I wanna let you know, I do actually have a course that is all about building your own thriving writing practice for your lifestyle, so that you can make more progress in whatever it is that you're writing. It is geared heavily for book writers, because that is who I was speaking to when I first built the course. But really, honestly, it can work for anyone, whether you're writing a script, whether you're writing a book, whether you're writing a play. It doesn't matter. It's really about the practice. It's not about the actual medium of your writing. So you can go click the link in my bio and get that. It's called Your Thriving Writing Practice. Or you can go to kristeniris.com/writing practice, and you can go there and it'll take you right to the course where you can sign up for it and learn how to, it will take you through all the steps of building a writing practice that works for you, and also understanding like some of the mental blocks that you might have around your writing and how to start clearing that out. So go check it out, Your Thriving Writing Practice, at kristeniris.com/writing practice, or click the link in my bio. And I will see you guys next week for another Black Writer Wednesday. Feel free to hit me in my DMs and let me know if there's a particular topic that you want me to cover, so that I can make sure I'm giving you guys some things that is, really beneficial for you. And I will see you in the next live.